Exciting things with Notebook LM and Google have just rolled out. Justin, I want to talk about this because it's another changing world in AI, but really a good utility, especially for what we've taught in a lot of our basic classes.
Right, and some will be working off of a free account here with Google. And, for as much as we talked about in the past that Google really had some ground to make up, I really think in 2025 so far, they're definitely making up some ground. And what's really interesting is they chose to go the free route. And I know that's very beneficial in its own right, where they probably have a multitude of free users, I'm sure. And so when you roll out those offerings to free users, of course, they're going to take advantage of them. And I know that benefits them and seeing how things work. But Notebook is one that it's out there. People have talked about it, but it doesn't seem to be as discussed as it could be. And it's a pretty powerful tool when you're looking at kind of more of a research, organizing your thoughts. Maybe you want to get into the space of getting into podcasting without really having to do podcasting. This is pretty powerful. And so, what we're going to do is take a look at it real quick.
Now, Justin, I want you to back up and give the dummies definition
Hmm.
of Notebook LM in case someone's completely new to this.
And so, this is a tool we're going to go into the free account here. And Notebook LM is essentially classified as a research and kind of a organizing your thoughts, note taking tool rolled out by Google. And so what it does is you can use it to search the web. It's not a classic LLM like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. It is more focused on collecting information, building upon it, using it to create things such as AI generated podcasts, various documents. You can use as sources for searching within those sources and even creating things such as interactive mind maps. And so, if you're looking for something to help you really organize your thoughts or prepare for even a speech, or again, if you don't want to be on camera with your face and your voice, but you have a message and you have research and you have something that you want to share, then Notebook LM is pretty powerful because you can have that realistic sounding interaction between two hosts on a podcast. When you sign into Notebook LM, you're going to see it's a pretty simple dashboard. Of course, you have your classic settings and access to your other tools at the top, but you also have it's not a lot to choose from, which is good, especially for someone who is just getting into using AI tools. You don't need a very intricate full dashboard. If you want to create something new, of course, you can go to a create new and you're going to create a new dashboard. You can see here it works with a lot of different sources. You can copy and paste text on the right. You can add YouTube or website links, or you can pull straight from your Google Docs or Google Slides. You also have the choice to upload sources directly from your computer. But what is really exciting too is in the top right corner, you can actually click on Discover Sources if it's something that you have not been able to collect resources on. So let's see. I want to explore the different things you can do with Notebook LM. And what this is going to do is once I submit this prompt, it's actually going to search the internet and pull sources relevant to this. So we have some YouTube videos. We have a Google blog, 8 expert tips for you getting started with Notebook. We have some other blogs and podcasts, YouTube. We have some official Google. We have some Reddit. So I mean, it's a good spread of a variety of different type of sources. So let's do this. We're going to import these 10 sources. And so now we have a notebook. And so we're going to name it. And let's see. There we go. exploring Google's Notebook LM features and use cases. You're going to see there's a summary of the different sources here. And so now at the top, you have three basic choices. You have your sources, which you can add, you can continue to discover, and you can keep or you can delete. You have your chat area, which is where you can start to create notes, and notes are really going to be what your podcast pulls from. And so you have notes, you have an audio overview, and you have a mind map. And the mind map is really powerful because, let's see, explain the different ways I can use Notebook LM to organize research.
Right.
And again, it's pulling from the sources and it's going to reference the sources. So this is from the 8 expert tips for getting started blog. So you can jump to those if you want to read them. This is pretty powerful. So we're going to save this as a note. You're going to see a new note is created. Now you can create something of your own, or you can create a study guide, frequently asked questions, a briefing doc, but we're a timeline. And so that's in Studio. Now in Studio is where you really start to create. And so again, we talked about the study guide. Let's see what that looks like. And so we're developing a new note. Now remember, the note is where your podcast, your mind maps are going to pull from. So here's a quick study guide. It's got a quiz, an answer key. It has essay format questions, and it is literally a study guide if you chose to do that. Now I can also convert this generated output into a source, which then just builds on it if you feel that it adds something that wasn't originally there. But before we get into diving into a podcast, there is something I really want to explore because this is sometimes an overlooked benefit to what this tool can do. So let's see. The mind map function. We're going to click on the mind map feature. You're going to see that it is also being generated as another source. You're going to click on that. Now this is powerful because you'll see here, not only is it a mind map based on all your sources, it's interactive. And so you can scale it up, you can scale it down. You can also interact with it. It's going to show you what source it took from. But this is powerful because if anybody needs to put their thoughts on paper to really be able to explore them, you can already see how powerful this is, especially if you're working with a team or you need to see if there's anything that you may have forgotten that you need to go back and explore again or add sources on. And so now that we've explored that, we're going to go back to Studio. Now, when you go to do the podcast, there's different things you can do. You can generate outright or you can customize. And so, for example, I want to say, do not use filler words such as
This is good.
like, because they will use like quite often, or other forms of these words. Keep the tone professional, but informative. And so now what I'm doing is I'm actually designing how the two AI generated hosts are going to converse. And so you see that it is now generating this conversation. This may take a few moments, and I will say that in the free version, especially, you are limited to so many generations a day. So if you just don't get it down and you go through 3 or 4, just remember at some point you're going to hit a wall and it's going to have to wait about 24 hours before you get more of those. More information can be found here. And again, that's going in the information button underneath your profile. And that's going into some of the more details like we just discussed. And so you could see where this is pretty powerful. While we're waiting for that audio to churn up, this is pretty powerful. And so if I don't have any more sources, but I noticed on my mind map that it was missing something, I can go back to Discover and let's be creative. Let's see. I want sources that provide more context and information about how to run a successful podcast. Again, it's going to the internet, and here we go. So there's a Forbes, Lower Street, Podcastle. Let's see, Buzzsprout. I'm looking for, there's a how to monetize your podcast. All right, so there's 10 more sources. I'm going to import those in.
And it's important to know this is all in what you might think of a conversation or inside the topic of exploring Google Notebook LM.
Right. And so for some reason, let's see, it found an invalid URL. So if I want to delete that, then I can go over here to my options, remove that source, and delete. Let's check to see if our podcast is ready. It's still baking in the oven,
Still
so
cooking.
let's see.
And
That's
they've
right.
improved it a good bit. When it first came out, you were I don't want to use the word Valley Girl, but it had a lot of things that would get you negative points and Toastmasters integrated to make it sound natural, and that's why that prompt was a great addition that they allowed. That wasn't in the very first version.
So let's see. They shouldn't be using filler words. It is ready. We're going to give this a listen.
Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think many of you deal with, just the sheer volume of information out there.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Totally. So we've gathered a bunch of sources, YouTube transcripts, a Google blog post, some Reddit threads, tech articles specifically for you, our listener. The idea is to cut through that noise.
Right. And our goal today is really to pull out the essential knowledge about a tool designed precisely for this challenge.
Exactly. That tool is Google's Notebook LM. Think of this deep dive as your shortcut to understanding.
And so if you've been on YouTube and you've watched any number of the faceless YouTube where it has maybe the older gentleman narrating something, or the younger gentleman with the nice chiseled stony voice, you can obviously tell that it's AI generated. It sounds good. Some of the transitions are a little weird. There's just something instinctual about it. Doesn't sound natural. However, that's pretty realistic from what we just heard.
Yeah.
And so that's something that if you did not know that this tool was out there and you were listening, that's pretty believable. You could take and you could put that out there if you like. You could export it, put it into something such as CapCut if you wanted to, edit it a little bit more, or you want to overlay some images on it, Be Real, something like that. You could go from there, and you would do that by downloading, share audio. If you don't want to share it or made it public, you can download, and it'll download right to your computer, or you can delete it. Now,
and Justin,
go ahead.
I'm a big advocate of let people know it's AI generated too.
Right.
Everything we teach includes kind of ethics and building trust with human beings, not trying to fool them. The place you're going next is, to me, the exciting addition that was not there when it started, the interactive mode. I'm looking forward to you letting people see how that works.
Right, Martin. So the exciting part is the interactive mode where you can interact with the podcast. Now, it's not going to save this in the final version. However, it is a good way to really interact with the output, with the audio, and maybe even learn something. So they just introduced Notebook LM. We're going to chime in and ask a few questions.
What it can do, its potential, and how it might change the way you handle information.
So instead of you having to sift through all those different sources yourself.
We've done that initial legwork.
Yeah.
Our mission, give you the key insights on Notebook LM. What is it? What's it capable of? And, why might it actually matter for someone trying to learn quickly and thoroughly?
Okay.
This is really exciting. Oh, not ready for it. It will take a minute or two to buffer sometimes, but you want to play it so it can go ahead and get quote on its thought before you join.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think many of you deal with, of just the sheer volume of information out there.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Totally. Oh, hey there. How can we help?
I know I'm overwhelmed by a lot of information nowadays. It seems everywhere you go, you're being bombarded with more information.
Absolutely. It feels like we're swimming in it sometimes.
It's a common feeling in this digital age.
And that's exactly why we wanted to explore Notebook LM with you today.
We've done that initial legwork to understand it.
Our mission for you is to unpack Notebook LM.
What it is, what it can actually do. Oh, go for it.
That's great. Thank you so much. This is a tool that I'm really excited to learn about. But first, how should we really prepare the information that we're going to use for Notebook LM?
That's a fantastic question. It's definitely worth thinking about how to best get your material ready.
Yes, a little preparation can really make a big difference in the results you get.
Based on what we've seen, the tool works best with clear, well-organized information.
Think of it like giving instructions to an assistant. The clearer they are, the better the outcome.
So if you have scattered notes, maybe try to consolidate them a bit.
Or if you have a really long document, consider if there are specific sections you're most interested in exploring first.
One of the YouTube creators
Yep, go on.
What size am I limited to in bigger documents?
That's a really important thing to consider when you're dealing with larger files.
Yes, there are some limits to keep in mind to get the best performance.
From what we've gathered, you can upload individual files up to 200 megabytes in size.
That's per file, and it's mentioned in one of the Reddit threads we looked at.
So if you have a single document larger than that, you might need to break it down.
Exactly.
And I love how they threw in the little human touch of that was in one of the Reddit threads that we looked at. That's what makes it seem so natural. And so unfortunately, it won't finish and then compile it as if you were a member of the podcast. But this is a really good way for you to pull something together like the research and really interact with the research and ask questions and really kind of dive into it. And so that's pretty powerful. Or just have an interesting conversation on a topic you want to learn more about.
Yeah, it could be where you put a bunch of data into it and you're asking it questions about the data through the conversation. I think in the future we might see where it will then put an output, but this could be captured if you have something like Camtasia, where you'll capture the recordings along with what you're doing. I think I'll experiment with that, Justin, and give a report below if that's doable.
And if you take, in addition to some of the AI powered tools out there that will take audio and integrate it into, say, a runway generated video or something similar that's been generated by ChatGPT, then you now have, in a way, a customized podcast to where if, again, Camtasia, you have a already generated avatar or you've been working on one, now you can create a podcast. They can be the face of your podcast. We still, want to be careful on the likeness of what we choose. We want to make sure that we have rights to use those avatars in such a way. But again, that's a pretty powerful way with some of the convincing avatars out there nowadays that you can actually make a page or make a podcast that is enjoyable without ever having to really expose yourself to it, or even create multiple podcasts. But it is exciting, like you said, Martin, that one day it seems like everybody has a podcast now, but a lot of them are solo. It's hard sometimes when it's just you to generate a lot of ideas, but if you can imagine now you actually have a whole podcast show eventually to where you're the only human in the whole panel, but you have experts in something that you've built. that are asking you questions that you're able to really flourish, then I think that's going to really change the whole landscape eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great beginning introduction. We do more in our training on this, but we'd love to hear from you. How are you using it? What did you find the most useful? Uh, what are new ways that it might add to your productivity? And they're being pretty generous, and I suspect they'll be updating it more quickly because we've watched it improve in a pretty short period of time.
Well, well, Martin, as we wrap up on this one, let's see what the podcast has to say.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final thought you want to leave our listener with?
Maybe just this. Think about how a tool like Notebook LM could actually change your personal approach to learning and handling information day to day. With this kind of AI assistant focused on your stuff, what kinds of deep dives might you be able to take now that seemed too daunting before? It's worth exploring.
That is
Yeah,
worth exploring, Martin.
Yeah, I agree entirely. That's excellent. And Justin, let's go ahead and download this. We'll put it on a link in the text below so they can hear the entire show. I think that'd be very informative.
All right, we will certainly do that and share this with you, and you tell us what you think.
Yeah. Tell us how you're using it, some fun ways. Dig in, play with it. It's got a lot of features already, and this is something we have integrated into our trainings already. If you want to learn more about our training in AI, check the links below, and remember to click subscribe in the bell. This is Martin Brossman.
And Dr. Justin Rose.
Have a great day.